Oblivion is a game that is almost 20 years old. It's received a lot of praise, and recently I decided to give it a try. I've never played an Elder Scrolls game before, and the game actually caught my eye because it got remade recently and remastered. And so there was a lot of talk going around on the internet about it, and I heard about it and I wanted to play it. But as you can tell, this is not the remastered version. I played the original because I'm not really the biggest fan of remastered graphics in games. Usually what happens is that the art style gets changed from what the original was. I'd heard that Oblivion Remastered was pretty similar to the original, but I've also seen some side-by-side screenshots comparing them, and they didn't really look the same in terms of colors and art style. I'm still not totally sure whether the remake is faithful or not. I haven't looked into it any further. But anyway, I played the original because I wanted to have the original art style and graphics, and plus it was a third of the price. But anyway, this is my first video and I don't want it to be me just rambling about whether or not the Oblivion remaster is faithful to the original. I want to talk about what I actually think about the game. So finally, to talk about the actual game, overall my thoughts are very positive. I had a lot of fun with this game and I can see why so many people like it so much. It's a very charming game, and there's a lot to like about it. One of the things that makes it so charming is the light, colorful tone. It's very fun, it's very, again, colorful, and, it has that atmosphere of a high fantasy world. The atmosphere and the tone is really one of the most important things in a game like this, at least I think, in my humble opinion. Because when the mechanics and the graphics really aren't that great, obviously something has to be there to keep you playing. And really just the tone makes it an enjoyable experience to just be in the game. Almost like instead of playing a game, you're in the world. I hope I'm making sense. You're not so much worried about normal game things like, again, mechanics and stuff like that. But really you can just be in the world and get immersed into the atmosphere. Now that I say it, there probably are other games like that, but Oblivion has that unique tone. It's fun, it's light. And that comes from a lot of things, one of which being the colors. I mentioned it before, but the game is very colorful. The sky is bright, at least when it's not raining. It's very vibrant. The sun shines brightly on the world, and even when it does rain, it still feels like light. And it still does have the vibrant colors, maybe not as much as when the sun's out, but it doesn't feel, because you know how some games have a very dark, depressing atmosphere? Even when it rains in Oblivion, it still maintains that colorful fantasy atmosphere. But either way, most of the time it is bright and colorful. And combined with the world design, although I guess that could be the same thing, but combine the vibrancy of the world with the fantasy design. You have of course the architecture, and you have these sprawling landscapes with trees and mountains and rivers. It's really very nice to look at. But yeah, I have to admit, the graphics aren't helping a lot. Music is another big part of what makes this game so charming, and gives it that atmosphere that I keep talking about. The music in this game is phenomenal, and I have to say that not once did I get tired of it. Just like the world, it's very bright and fun, although at times it'll play this one song that's utterly beautiful, almost somber. It's not really a sad song, but it is just very beautiful and a lot less fun and light compared to the others. It's not bad, I just wanted to point it out. And it is nice to hear it, especially if you're walking through the woods. It's honestly great. You really appreciate the beauty of nature, even though you haven't been outside in days. Maybe that was just me, but I was having a lot of fun playing Oblivion, okay? The music really helps to, again, it makes you stop and appreciate just how nice the world is, if you're not getting attacked by something. That brings me to the combat music. The combat music it's fine, it gets the job done, although at least when you're just in the world and not in a dungeon or cave or something, if an enemy attacks you, the combat music will start, right? But after the enemy dies, the music switches right back to the normal music. I mean, obviously the combat music is gonna end when the enemy dies, but I just feel like the switch is very sudden. I don't know if that's a common opinion or not. I'm not saying it's bad or anything, but if I'm being honest, it is quite comical how it goes immediately to the normal music. But yeah, I mean, the music in this game is phenomenal, and it's probably one of my favorite things about the game. The characters are another thing that contributes to the charm of this game. The characters can be quite silly sometimes. I knew that was one of the things people liked about the game before going into it. I knew that they could act funny sometimes. And yeah, I mean, it can be pretty funny sometimes. The way they interact with the world and the other characters is quite interesting, and it can be fun to just watch them. Although if you do just watch them, you can tell pretty easily that there are flaws in their behavior, with the way they act and do things. You know, it's not the most realistic or intricately designed, but I guess that's fine. That's not really what they were going for. And like I said, the characters can be pretty funny, so I guess that makes up for it. But actually talking to them, the dialogue is fine. I don't really have a lot to say. I didn't find it to be really notable. I honestly have no idea if that's complete heresy what I just said, but that is my opinion. Although I do want to mention that the characters will often reference things that happen. You know, the dialogue is quite dynamic with the world as events occur. And a lot of the time it's things that the player does, I guess all of them. But they talk about it without knowing that it was the person they're talking to that is responsible for it. They'll talk to you about something that you did and not know that it was you. And I just thought that was pretty interesting. Speaking of characters and dialogue, we should talk about voice acting. The voice acting in Oblivion is really good. There are so many great lines, and they're so memorable because of the voice acting, specifically the guards of the cities.
Speak.
The city guards are so iconic, they're amazing, and the voice acting is really good overall. But the one issue that I have is that there's only one voice actor per race and gender. It gets really repetitive hearing the same voice over and over again. I only really noticed it towards the end of my playthrough, and I didn't even finish everything. There were still a couple things left for me to do. There was the Mages Guild left to do, and the Thieves Guild too, which I barely even started. But yeah, the voice acting kind of got repetitive hearing the same voices. And another thing that got repetitive was the reused dungeons. I'm talking specifically about the caves and the Ayleid ruins. As far as I could tell, these are the two main types of dungeon areas you'll find in side quests. And there's nothing really wrong with them, but the amount of times you'll find yourself in the same type of area gets repetitive. I said there's nothing wrong with them, but I guess you could say that they're just boring areas in the first place. There's nothing really visually interesting about them. And that's not a huge issue for just a regular side content caves. But when you keep going to areas that look the same, and they don't even look that good to begin with, then it gets tiring. And also the eerie music is the same thing. There's nothing wrong with it, but I got sick of hearing it all the time. And I got to the point where whenever I was in one of these areas, I would just play my own music. But that was really only towards the end of my playthrough. But like I said, I didn't do everything there is to do in the game, so my playthrough could have been a lot longer, in which case the repetitiveness would have just got worse. But on a more positive note, the quests overall are really good. There are a lot of really great quests in this game, and there are some that are okay, like some of the Fighters Guild quests. I've heard the complaint that the Fighters Guild quest line is just busy work, and while I can't agree with that, I personally didn't find too much of an issue with that. Only for a little bit around the middle of the quest line did I sort of start to think that it wasn't the most interesting, but in the beginning I didn't mind it, and towards the end it started to get pretty good, at least in my opinion. I thought it was pretty fun. The main quest line is also pretty good. I thought the main quest was probably, honestly, it might have been my favorite quest line, even over the Dark Brotherhood. The Dark Brotherhood quest was really fun, but towards the end it started to kind of drag on for a little. But then at the very end it got pretty good. But for a little bit when you were just doing the Dropbox orders, it wasn't the most interesting. But overall it was really good, and the main quest I thought was really good as well. I'm not super concerned with the story. I just cared mostly about the characters and the actual quests of what I'm doing, and I thought it was pretty fun. Also, a lot of side quests were really good too. There were a lot of great quests I just found by talking to people and just exploring the world. Overall, I thought the quests were a lot of fun. And again, I didn't do the Mages Guild and the Thieves Guild, so I can't talk about that. But maybe I'll play the game again someday and finish those. Or maybe I'll just start a new playthrough and try out a different build, because of how many builds there are. And that brings me to the variety in characters. There are so many roles to play. There are so many different types of characters you can do. There's the different races you can choose, and of course you can choose how to level up your stats. Leveling up wasn't really something I was too concerned with. I know the leveling system is tied to the scaling of the enemies, so I know you can optimize your level to be the most powerful compared to the enemies. I didn't really worry about that at all, and really the combat and mechanics and things like that weren't my main concern with this game. I just picked the type of build that I wanted, and when I leveled up, I would level up the stats I was going for, and that was about it. I didn't worry about the combat that much either and the difficulty. Probably about halfway through the game, I turned the difficulty down a bit. I had the slider in the middle, and I turned it down a bit, and whenever there was something that was annoying, I would just turn it down more, because I don't really think that difficulty and the combat is the main point of the game. And the combat itself isn't great. But again, I didn't really care about it that much. But yeah, overall, I really liked the game. I know this was quite brief compared to some other content you can find on this game. But yeah, this is my first attempt at a video like this for a game like this. So let me know what you thought about it. Thanks for watching. If you got something out of this video, a like or subscribe would be appreciated. Until next time, take care of yourself.